I spend a lot of time thinking about racism, responding to racism, and trying to protect the people I love from racism. It's exhausting. Lately, I've been wondering, what if I could live in a place where I didn't have to deal with this? But here's the thing. Sometimes the worst pain actually comes from the folks that look like me. The conflicts that happen within Black communities, from playful competitions between islands to questions around who gets to live where. These beefs remind me that we have a ton of unpacked baggage.
I went to Nigeria, and I always was treated like an outsider in Nigeria.
We grow up in countries that colonize, therefore we colonize.
I've never gone a place and be like, this is the safe place.
I'm tackling Twitter beefs, reflecting on the idea of return, and asking questions about identity, home, and belonging. I'm Amanda Paris, and I'm going on a deep dive into diaspora wars for the culture.
I said to my mum, why did you have me in England? I'm not meant for this climate. I'm supposed to have been born in Miami or Los Angeles.
Meet Gina Yashere. She's a stand-up comic and writer and co-creator of the hit sitcom Bob Hart's Abishola. I'm at her home in LA because Gina's built a career talking about topics like identity and belonging. Tell me your first thoughts of diaspora wars.
Diaspora wars?
Yes, diaspora wars.
What are diaspora wars?
Great question. Diaspora wars are the conflicts, culture clashes, beefs that can arise between different communities in the Black global diaspora, ranging from friendly debates about who makes the best jollof rice to more heated exchanges over power, cultural ownership, and representation. Diaspora wars. Yes.
Ugh.
How? So I guess you have some connection to it or knowledge of it.
Yes, I have knowledge of it. I've had experience of it. We are all fighting for a small amount of crumbs. Why are we all fighting each other for a small amount of crumbs?
Yeah.
We've all had very similar experiences. A lot of African-American people don't realise is that Black people from the Caribbean, we did not originate there. No. We were stolen and brought to the Caribbean. So the experiences that a lot of ancestors of African-Americans had in America, Caribbean people's ancestors had the exact same experience, even worse, on sugar plantations in the Caribbean. It's just that the Brits and the Europeans hid their slavery a lot better than Americans did.
Maybe Gina's right. Some conflicts emerge because people don't understand how much shared history there is between many of us in the diaspora. But is there more to it than that? The first place I ever called home was London, England, and so I'm heading back there to pick the brains of some cultural leaders. Daniel Bailey is a director, dramaturge, and writer for the stage and screen. Mohammed Abdul is a photographer and creative director, and Bolu Babalola is a novelist and screenwriter. We've all come together at the Gambian restaurant Papa L's to eat some good food and talk diaspora wars.
So that's the barbecue lamb cutlets.
Okay. Wow.
That's the grilled king tiger prawns. This is the sweet potato and lentil curry.
All right.
And this is the honey glazed salmon.
That's got my name on it. That's
With Kenyan green beans.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To diaspora wars.
When I was growing up, there was a lot of disparity between like West Indies and West Africa, right? There was always this thing, and it always felt like one was trying to up the other in how they assimilate into this country. It's like that was a massive thing when we was in school. I grew up with Ghanaians and Nigerians in and around the same area, Somali people in and around the same area. But that was a thing when we were growing up. It was about which country was mostly aligned with England. Like, was it Nigeria? Was it Jamaica? And I think that for our parents, that it quite heavily influenced who you'd be with, who you'd be rolling with.
Yeah, don't chill that way.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like, people are just scared or didn't know too much about each other's cultures and stuff.
Do you ever feel tempted to fall into the diaspora wars? Because I'm going to tell you a way that I've been guilty. So
Oh, you got triggered.
Well, yeah, I actually did. So, and this happened multiple times, and it pisses me off, and it still does. So I guess I am one of those people. But when African Americans do depictions of Caribbean people, and the accents are terrible.
Oh, okay,
And I'm like, okay,
yes. I get that as an African, as a Nigerian.
And I'm like, if you're gonna do it, do the work, do the homework.
Okay, for me, that's disrespectful.
To me, that's racist. I'm not joking. That's just racist.
Because I'm specifically talking about black creators.
No,
you know what I mean? And it just feels, disrespectful. And it feels like, I'm like, I'm about to go to Diaspora War with you.
Okay, I'm guilty.
I'm triggered too right now.
Yeah, I'm triggered.
But at the same time, like, if they've got the bigger platform, of course, we don't want that representation to be the only representation of us. And the whole point is that there are many different representations of us, right? And there are many different forms that exist in the ether. But, you know, if you've got, like, Tay Diggs doing a Jamaican accent now, you're kind of like, ugh. But at the same time, there's something about how he's brought a bit of a light to the Jamaican culture. I don't know.
My thing is not don't do it. My thing is do it well.
Movies and TV shows are the battleground for some of the most heated diaspora wars. And for good reason. Representation matters, y'all.
I've heard these black British people coming and taking African Americans acting jobs. And the fact is, we're all fighting for a small amount of roles. You know, you don't have white actors complaining. These Australians coming and playing American roles, or these South Africans, because they have a huge breadth of characters, three-dimensional characters to play, and there's work for everybody. But because black actors are fighting over the small amount of good three-dimensional roles to play, we end up scrabbling over these and then fighting each other. And what we should be concentrating is on creating more projects that are made by us, that tell our stories, not just the trauma porn, but full stories of the complete diaspora, and then we wouldn't be fighting each other over these small rows. And that's my take on the diaspora wars.
I want a deeper understanding of the nuances that get lost in these heated debates. So I'm meeting with my old professor and one of my favorite educators, Dr. Andrea Davis. She teaches and conducts research on the African diaspora.
When we live in spaces that are dominated by white supremacy or anti-black racism, where we're told that only a few of us can participate, that there might be a tendency towards what I call competitive citizenship. We have to just be careful of the ways in which we can be deployed against each other.
Siblings fight.
Siblings. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Meet filmmaker and musician Terrence Nance. He's the creator of the award-winning HBO series Random Acts of Flyness, which has been described as a vast collage of Black American experience. I'm with him in New York City to shop for records and get his take on diaspora wars.
It's natural. It's just what love looks like sometimes, you know? The way siblings fight is mostly just so that when they're out in the street, they know they're together in a way, you know? But I don't think it's really any more, in terms of its capacity to separate us, I don't feel like it's any more aggressive than that. You know what I mean? There isn't a way of, I think, framing the separation that we've survived as like anything other than a condition that we're going to, in some ways, come back from, and it's a nonlinear path, you know? It's not gonna be always sweet, you know?
It's comforting to think of these conflicts as one of the ways we're making our way back to each other. But what if we miss the connection? I was born in the UK. My mom is from Grenada, my dad was from Venezuela, and now I live in Canada. I've never felt particularly connected to any national identity. But I do feel connected to Black folks across the diaspora. I also know that the way my Blackness is understood and received can change depending on where I am in the world.
And so can you talk a little bit about navigating Blackness in the UK and the United States?
The distinct difference I noticed coming to America was that they had no idea there were black people in England. It's crazy. Like, everybody knows now because of Idris Elba.
And
all the
Top
other...
Boy or something.
Yeah,
or whatever,
and now Top Boy's on Netflix. And now people are realising,
they're like, oh, yeah, bruv.
Yeah. Oh, my God, I've had so many Americans go, yeah, bruv. And I'm like...
Stop, please.
Shut up. But it was a long, hard struggle because people didn't know what to do with me. You know, I'd be pitching TV shows and people would go, you know, you're not like our black people.
Right.
We don't really know what to do.
We don't know where to put this. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like navigating sort of the anti-black racism within these different spaces as well, too?
I mean, you know, look, I was born and raised in England. They were the architects of racism. People forget. People think that America...
Nope.
No, America's the little brother. England, this tiny little island, caused havoc around the globe. So I was born and raised in that. At least in England, our police don't carry guns on a regular basis. So they have to work a lot harder to kill us. But apart from that, I see not any difference between the racism in England or America. So I've had no difficulty navigating these waters because I was born doing it. It's not fun. It's, you know, it's not the way our lives are supposed to be, but it is what it is. I'm a stand-up comic, and we speak truth to power. That's what we do. And I'm not about to stop doing that.
What do you see as the future of diaspora wars? Where do you think they're going?
I don't think there will be diaspora wars, hopefully, in the future.
Okay.
Hopefully that whole war's gone and we're just one nation under God.
The simplistic ideas we have of each other can lead to diaspora wars on social media. But that's not the real world. I'm still in search of a safe haven. So I want to know what happens when black folks leave places like Canada, the US, and the UK and attempt to return.
I feel like I am living this incredible life because I wake up every morning and I see this.
Wow. Yes.
And I can walk around in shorts every day.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Meet Jelani De Leon, a woman who traded her life in New York to return to Grenada and, by all appearances, is currently living the dream.
When it's season, I can pick mangoes from a tree. And I actually visualized that when I was a teenager and we had to work. And I thought, you know, the life I visualized is being able to sit under a mango tree and just eat mangoes all day. And I literally do that when it's mango season.
That's amazing.
I sit in that hammock up there and I pick mangoes and I eat them until my belly hurts. And I think, you know, is this real? I mean,
what a beautiful manifestation.
I've come to see Jelani at her space, Sankofa Sanctuary, a retreat center she's developing that started out as a family home.
Your family is originally from Grenada, is that correct?
Yes, correct. I've always come back as a child for short summer vacations.
Okay.
But as an adult, I thought, why am I in New York City when I have this available to me? My mom bought the property about 20 years ago, and she started coming back for longer periods of time. I would come back to see her. And then, you know, I had this vision for creating this sanctuary space. And so it only made sense that I be here longer.
Can you talk a little bit about returning to Grenada and how it's transformed you?
I'm learning so much about Grenada. I'm learning what a special place it is. I'm grateful that I left and had the exposure that I did. And now I'm coming back at this stage of my life. I think it helps me to appreciate the place more than had I stayed here and never left.
Jelani isn't alone. A growing number of black folks from the US, Canada, and the UK are leaving these countries, and many are looking for largely black-dominated spaces to live. Since 2020, approximately 5,000 black Americans chose to relocate to Ghana alone.
So I know that there's this like movement happening of black people deciding to leave spaces like England, like the US, like Canada. I think they call it Blacksit, you know, this like black exit.
Wow.
This Blacksit movement, you know, of like go. So that, you know, it could mean moving to just a different location, but I know there's also this sort of like
conscious effort to move to spaces that are Black dominated. So I'm curious about your thoughts about that, this idea of like leaving these spaces saying, I'm done, that's it, I'm moving on.
Well, I definitely understand the impetus.
Yeah.
This place can feel very oppressive. Like, it is the home of colonialism, and that makes itself known in many insidious ways. So I think once you're out of that, you just feel this kind of like relief. I don't want to romanticize Lagos or Nigeria. It's chaotic. It'll frustrate you to the point of tears. But similarly, when I arrive in the airport and the airport is stinking, there's a puddle, I don't know where the water's come from. Like, I don't. But I release like a breath that I didn't know I was holding every single time. But again, not to say that it's not chaotic and it doesn't have its own set of frustrations. It absolutely does. And it's the reason why after 6 months or like even after 2 months, I'm like, okay, I need to go back. I need to go back. Because Black British people are also my people in a similar way to how Nigerians, Yoruba people are my people.
Like this summer, I went touring around Africa for like 3 weeks. So we went to like Rwanda, Tanzania, Namibia, Kenya. That was the best holiday of my whole entire life. Like, I just felt like I was back home where I'm meant to belong. And it's not like I'm finding myself, I've been to Africa before. But it's just like a little top-up.
Yeah.
So
you need it sometimes.
Yeah, but it was just like how much happier life is out there, how much happier everyone else is out there. Coming back to here, it just made me realise that, I need to leave as soon as possible.
Even for me, someone who's Jamaican, who's grown up here most of their life, I've gone back and forth to Jamaica. But the place that I'm always thinking about, like constantly is on my mind, is Ghana.
Why Ghana?
As soon as I got off that plane, I just felt like, oh, cool, this feels very much like Jamaica. I went 2019, I went for the year of return.
In 2019, the government of Ghana decided to commemorate the 400-year anniversary of enslaved Africans arriving in the United States. It was dubbed the Year of Return, and Africans from across the continent and the diaspora were invited to participate. I experienced a lot of FOMO watching all the celebrations online.
At the time, I didn't know it was the Year of Return. I just kind of rocked up on my ones.
That's a happy accident.
It was a proper happy accident. And, like, I just had the best time.
How you feeling, D? Look at that drop. Look at that drop. So, Dan and Dan.
We did it. We did it.
Just so happens that about a year after, a friend of mine was like, oh, these apartments are going for really cheap. Jump on it now. I kind of did, and from then I started kind of thinking about what the next steps would be for me to exist out there. So, yeah, I'm probably going to be part of that swathe of people that immigrate to somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like my kids, as much as I'd love to make them suffer, I feel like, you know, like, we went through all of this hard work so they could have an easier life and also get a life like they actually deserve where they're growing in, like, a nice, healthy environment. So for me right now, I'd love to grow up either somewhere, like, in the Middle East, in Africa, or in Asia. Europe.
So you wouldn't want your kids here?
Definitely not. Maybe for like a holiday or to see their family or if they need some sort of character building. Just like, you know how the parents used to be like, yo, we're sending you back home.
You better send it to the UK. I'm sending you to the ghetto. You want to know how we live? All right, cool.
We're going south.
I really love that.
The idea of return is incredibly appealing. But I want to talk through the practical realities of this decision with someone who's not only made the move herself, but also helps others make that leap. So I'm in Grenada to speak with Zoe Smith, a journalist and the founder of the Exodus Collective. She decided to quit her job and move with her 3 children from the UK to the Isle of Spice.
As a kid, I came here because I had to. It was fun, like as an 8 or 9-year-old. But as a teenager, I was like, there's nothing here to do. It's hot. There are bugs. The shops don't have what I want. Like, yeah, I was a horrible teenager who just hated everything. And I don't think it was probably until my mid to late 20s when I kind of got really deep into my career. Things were going well. I was working in TV news. News is just like go, 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 kind of trauma to chaos to nonstop. And coming here and just, there was something about being in a land where I came from, where I could see the land where my ancestors had worked, where I could be affirmed by people rather than tolerated.
I feel like I am going to be thinking about what you just said, to be in a place where I am affirmed rather than tolerated for a very long time. That is very powerful. In terms of your experience growing up in London, what do you think it was that led you to say, this is not the place that I want to stay?
I think it's cumulative. So from primary school, dealing with racism from teachers and students, teachers not really having any expectations of you academically, moving through pretty much exclusively white spaces, like that was kind of my lived reality. And at the time, I don't think it was kind of a subconscious thing. It was sort of bubbling underneath. And maybe it wasn't until later that I recognized it. And I think perhaps what triggered it was having a son, having a young black son, or mixed race son. He was born in 2010, and in 2012, the murder of Trayvon Martin happened. Up until then, like, everything kind of felt conceptual, like to realize that you're in a society where that could be your son. And even in the UK, it is different to the US, but still, like, the rates of incarceration, educational outcomes, stop and search by the police, is still completely inexcusable. I definitely felt a responsibility to make a intentional choice about where I chose to raise him, but I have a responsibility to give him the best path possible.
I can't stop thinking about the things that are so important for my peers: safety, wellness, belonging. It sounds very different from the reasons why my parents and grandparents migrated. It speaks to a generational shift that I want to ask Dr. Andrea Davis to unpack.
Many immigrants arrive in places like Canada and the United States because they have been told that there's opportunity. I think about 2020, when young people across ages, but there were a lot of young people flooding the streets after the murder of George Floyd in the United States, but in Canada, Australia, everywhere. To me, that was such a model of refusal. It was like, yes, my parents have said, if I behave, if I do this, then I will be okay. I will make it. And I don't see it. I have debt from going to college that I'll never be able to own a home. I'll live precariously my entire life. And so this logic doesn't make sense. And so they just weren't into playing that kind of good Negro. And I think that we have to appreciate where that is coming from.
How does your dad feel about your move here?
So my dad thinks I'm absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of resistance, more than resistance. Yeah. No, I think he's, I think at the time that he left Grenada, so like early 1960s, there was a lot of lack, right? And I think pretty much everything that he's been able to achieve has been from having access to resources, networks, etc. in the UK. So for me to then choose to reject that and come back to Grenada, which he sees as a place of lack, it doesn't make any sense. And I think he's less bothered for me than for his grandchildren.
Right.
But the conversation that I had with my dad was that, you know, your parents moved because they wanted to give you an opportunity. And I'm just doing the same thing for my kids. And I think there's a lot of focus on generational wealth, but for me, generational well-being really matters. So for them to grow up in a way that they don't feel they have to be apologetic of who they are, where they don't have to be undermined or tormented in the school system, where they don't have to be stopped and searched by the police, or any of the other sort of multiplicity of ways in which Black people suffer in the global North.
So everything that I'm doing here is beyond just me and how I might benefit from it. It's about honoring my ancestors. It's about acknowledging the foundation that they laid for me to be able to do this. I feel their spirits coursing through this land. And what they created for us was a foundation to move forward and take things to the next level. And that's the vision that I have here, and I'm passing that on to my daughter. It's a big vision, I know, but I'm optimistic and confident, and I think this is the place to make it happen.
I was gonna say, how could you not have big visions, like staying in a space like this, being in a space like this? As you said, it has an incredible energy. And I gotta come back.
You do.
During mango season.
Gotta come back.
I can relate to Jelani and Zoe's desire to create different possibilities for the next generation. But that desire also feels rooted in a romantic assumption that these places we return to are waiting for us with open arms. Unfortunately, the reality is a diaspora war way more complicated than anything happening online.
They're all self-portraits about how I've felt within the diaspora. At moments of like feeling like, whoa, I'm really on the outside of this. They're capturing these small gestures, but of the range of emotion from being terrified to joy to calm, serenity, like trying to really capture the full spectrum of human emotion while having like these very coded moments that can be read by the community.
This is Curtis Talway Santiago. He's a visual artist from Edmonton who now calls Munich home. Curtis is in Toronto for his latest show, which examines questions of ancestry and diasporic imagination.
So a lot of your work has been drawing from Trinidad, which is the place where your parents are from. Can you tell me a little bit about how it plays out in your work?
So I think how it plays out in my work, I'm really focused in the last few years on having images that appear in the gallery that my parents and their generation can understand. I've been doing things about, you know, Black bodies and trauma and American issues, and then I was like, no, I need to look back on this period of time for my parents, especially their connection to Carnival, and then my introduction to Carnival and thinking about future generations, like my son, what his introduction will be.
What has your relationship been like with Trinidad?
Yeah, it's always this longing, this desire to go back home with a sense of naivete in a little bit. I think it's like anyone in the diaspora, it's complicated in the sense of spending the majority of my time away, growing up outside of Trinidad. You look back with this lens of like nostalgia and romance, but also I understand why my parents chose to bring me here. And so wrestling with that and wrestling with the idea, what does it mean to go back home?
The naive longing to return that so many of us have in the diaspora is something I really want to talk to Gina about.
Was Nigeria ever a place that you were like, this is also my place that I might want to go to?
I went to Nigeria, and I always was treated like an outsider in Nigeria. It was so funny. Even though my upbringing in England was very Nigerian. At home, we wore Nigerian clothes. We ate pounded yam, jollof, gari, okra stew, egusi. We ate all the Nigerian food. And we were, you know, and my mother definitely put the culture of Nigeria within us. Like, even the way I speak to people, my elders, the constant show of respect, calling everybody auntie, uncle. This was stuff that was... It was natural to me growing up. So I thought I had a very Nigerian upbringing. But, you know, as is the thing with immigrant parents, when they move to another country, they want their children to assimilate so badly that my mother never taught us the mother tongue. So she never taught us how to speak Edo or Benin or any of the languages. My mother speaks several Nigerian languages. She speaks Hausa, she speaks Yoruba, she speaks Edo, but she never taught us any of those languages. Because she wanted us to assimilate, she wanted us to be British, which was great for England. But then when I went back to Nigeria...
How old were you when you went back?
I was older when I went back. The first time I went back, I was in my late 20s.
And so were you excited? Did you have a lot of anticipation?
I was excited.
Yeah.
I'd always wanted to go. I was like, I want to go back to where my mum and dad are from. I've never been there. And, you know... And in my early 20s, I started reading the history of what happened in Nigeria. So I wanted to go back to my roots and see where I'm from. I was excited. I was excited to go to Nigeria. And I went, and I loved the country. I wasn't treated in the way that I'd hoped. I was like, I'm coming home. You know, I'm getting off the plane, and I'm like, I'm home, people. And they're like,
who are you?
English, what, this... And they tried to treat me like I was, you know, and I was like, no, you're not fleecing me at the airport. I'm not bribing my way out of this airport. I'm Nigerian. My parents are from here. So I had struggles.
Yeah.
You know, they were saying, I'd go back to England. No, they thought I was American because I had tattoos. So one woman was like, I'd go back to America with your devil tattoos. So I was like, you know, I'm from Nigeria. Well, you're supposed to be my people. So I was sorely disappointed going back to Nigeria the first time. I went back later and did shows, but I never felt that affinity that I thought I'd feel.
Welcome to my pad.
Wow, your pad, I like that.
Pad in the making.
I'm in the north of Grenada to visit a home that Zoe is in the midst of renovating.
My grandfather purchased it in the 1970s.
I see.
After coming back from working in the UK. It's been abandoned for a really long time. It's known by my kids as the bat house. Because it was full of bats and termites.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really like a hardcore renovation project.
But no, look at this. This is all you, Zoe. Wow.
Yeah. No, it's a really special place. And the funny thing is, I've never really mentioned it to anyone, but when I was in my journey to come here, I was certain of what I was doing, but I was like, let me just double check. And I actually had a divination with someone. There's a lot of stuff that they told me, and they said, you need to move, and you need to move to somewhere where water is flowing naturally. And
Wow.
I was like, okay, say no more.
Wow.
So yeah, this river is special on many different levels.
All of this seems so idyllic. But Zoe told me that despite inherited land and divinations, her attempt to find home in Grenada has been complicated.
It's sort of like coming home, but you're not home. I did feel, because my parents were born here, because I have a Grenadian passport, because I am a Grenadian citizen, I am Grenadian. But I'm also not at all Grenadian. It's possibly painful at times. It's been like a complicated thing to navigate. But I guess, because also having been someone of West Indian descent in the UK, I'm clearly not English, even though I get called English here. So it's just like another phase of existing in a liminal space of like, you're not this, you're not that, but in some ways you are, in some ways you're not.
So I know you do a lot of supporting people through this process. Can you tell me about some of the challenges some people might have in this decision to make this move, but might not foresee?
If you're used to growing up in places that can feel quite toxic, it can be quite hard to distinguish what is the problematic about the place I'm in and what are some problematic habits or traits or approaches that I've personally developed and that are actually still going to be there when I move. And that can be really, really uncomfortable to like ship everything, move, and realize that like 60% of the problem is you.
Have you witnessed or observed any tensions that you're seeing from expats in the local community in terms of that?
I've definitely seen things where, yeah, Black Brits can act like neo-colonizers, be incredibly dismissive, presumptive, and all the stuff that we would call white people out for. I think we can be guilty of that as well. I don't think it's intentional, but I don't think we realize just how indoctrinated we are. We grow up in countries that colonize, therefore we colonize.
I think wherever we go, we have a responsibility to know the history of that place, know the Black history of that place, and to consider what that place needs, how our going either makes that possible or does not.
This conversation isn't just about the diaspora. I want to hear from the locals. How do they feel about those who return to the island? Jab Moses is a performer who was born and raised in Grenada. And for him, return is a double-edged sword.
I'm curious about your thoughts in terms of the people that do return and their relationship with people who were born and raised here.
What I've witnessed is that a lot of the times when they stay away from the country too long, they're out of touch with the culture. Culture shifts, culture changes. Other thing is that with the locals, when you have a local accent, you get a different treatment than if you have a foreign accent.
Your ability to access different things changes. Okay.
Right.
I'm wondering, do you think that there is a responsibility of these returnees, these expats, to invest in Grenada in a particular way?
And to also collaborate. People are still paying laborers and people who do technical work, like dirt cheap. So I feel like some of the people, the expats and the people who are coming, need to pay more attention to that. And we locally need to pay more attention to that, to have a better standard of pay for our local people, which would then help the economy as well, too. Because then now people can afford medical insurance, they can afford life insurance, they can afford to take care of their children properly and give them proper education. But when you're not being paid properly, you're kind of subjected to the ghetto aspect of things. You're going to get ghetto education. You're going to get ghetto type of living, because that's what you can afford.
Yeah. Jab Moses is speaking to an important layer of tension that I bring back to the conversation in London. So many people from the UK, from the US, a few from Canada moving back has raised prices in particular neighborhoods, and then I was like, are we gentrifying? What is, so can we talk a little bit about the tension around the return as well too?
That tension is interesting, and it's so palpable, you can feel it now.
And I feel like some people they want this experience to feel African, but it's very superficial.
Right.
And it's not really going to the community, and I feel like that's where the tension lies. So the locals are like, you don't even get it. You just come here for a few weeks and then you go back, and then you go back to your cushy life, and you go to these hotels and these nice little bars, and you think this is what it is to be Ghanaian or Nigerian or whatever. So I think if people come with the intention, I actually want to understand culture for real, I think people are very open to that.
I went to Jamaica the other day and eggs were £10. It's about tourism, it is about travel, and it is about the economy rising, because it's becoming more of a kind of destination space, which is really sad. But on the flip side, you're hoping that everything can rise, the whole infrastructure can be built up, and
elevated.
And that those that come from that space are the ones that are leading that.
A thought that hits me is that for many of us who are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, return usually only involves one part of our ancestry. But when I speak to Curtis, he talks about a desire to engage all of it and sees the layers of diasporic identity as a site of possibility.
I have two great-grandfathers that I've only recently discovered. One was French, one was Scottish.
How are you receiving that, and how is that shaping how you understand yourself and your work?
It just makes sense, but it also makes sense in a greater context. Trinidad is this mashup of so many cultures. And through Carnival, I can talk about Europe. I can talk, because it is the perfect hybrid of Europe and Africa coming together. And so...
And India.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And China, all these spaces.
All of this.
All of this is what we embody. And so now I just try to really embrace that and not get so caught up in, well, I'm this, because tomorrow it can change wherever I am.
I'm understanding and receiving, and I feel like I still feel a little bit of resistance, because I'm thinking about the white ancestry that is in my line. There's all of this resistance to acknowledging and understanding and knowing them, because there's also a history of violence that might come alongside that. So can you talk a little bit about reconciling this understanding that all of it is a part of me, and how you move through that tension as well too, if you have that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I say that to everything and anything, to myself, to the universe, to my ancestors, forward and back, just to clear, the idea of clearing the memory. The trauma, they can say, lasts 7 generations. I don't want to wait that long.
How do you define a Black space?
It sounds very stereotypical, but it's like a rhythm. This is I was in a market in Dubai, weirdly, but it was an African market, and there was Senegalese people, Ghanaian, everyone was there, and there was a song playing, and then everyone in different stalls just started moving.
It's a rhythm.
It's a rhythm.
It exists right here in the food. Do you know what I'm saying? It exists in how we communicate with each other. You spoke about the musicality of it all, and the musicality isn't just about the music, right? It's about language and how language flows in the vernacular. It's about the way we wear our hair. It's about all those different things that kind of cross over, that very much feels like that is a Black space. So
it comes with you wherever you go.
Right.
I think for me, a black space is one where, you know, spirit is moving. Seeing how blackness manifests to different cultures and different languages and different idioms, different histories. When I'm around all that, those varieties of expressions, I feel, you know, just like the connective tissue, you know?
That's a really great segue into talking about your current relationship to this place, this country, to the United States.
Yeah, it's unsafe, for sure. And there are pockets of safety. You ain't even got to say it. You know what I mean? This is like, there was a mass shooting yesterday, you know, and today, and I've never gone a place and be like, this is the safe place.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That promised land.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think like this. I'm like, every place has this conundrum, and, you know, you just sort of choose your conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
This journey is inviting me to consider that the space I've been seeking may not be a physical one, but perhaps something spiritual.
I read an interview where you talked about genetic imagination. This term is very fascinating to me. Can you expand on what you mean by that?
There was like a meme going around on Black Twitter where it was like, before we were slaves, we were poets, we were scientists, we were families, we were all of those things. And that really resonated with me. If I can embody the suffering and terror of water and these other things, I can also remember and recall the acts of celebration. And as we know, joy is a very political act of resistance.
The horns that keep coming up in Curtis's visuals are inspired by a carnival character that he first saw as a child in Trinidad.
The first jabs, when they dressed up as the devil, it was to like show the masters, this is what you look like. This is how nasty you are. But also, we are smart enough to embed our culture, our history, our spirituality in this, and we're gonna get two birds with one stone, you know?
Jab Jab is a carnival tradition that can be found in several islands, including Trinidad, but it holds a particularly special place in Grenada. Its history and its rituals all feel inextricably linked to this idea of a black space that so many have been describing.
For me, jab is a mockery. It's a celebration, but it's a mockery. When we play jab, we put the motor oil on our skin. That rebellious spirit, that spirit that's against the government from not providing opportunities, that's against the system for keeping the people poor and for not helping the needy, you know what I'm saying? Like, we are mocking that system. We are rebelling against that system.
So talk to me about why it's important to you. Like, why is this become a thing that you've connected to? And
I've connected to it because I realized that we lacked education. Jab was deep. It was about reading spells. It was about talking about the atrocities and the things that were happening on the plantation. Remember, these people came from Africa, and they didn't have the English language. They had to speak in their language, and all they had was drum and music. That's how they communicated. And it's important to keep the culture alive.
I think that embodied memory is real, you know, certainly for those of us who are descendants of the formerly enslaved. I don't know that we have to travel back to feel that connection.
Legend has it that during slavery, an enslaved man fell into a vat of molasses while on the sugar plantation. He died, but returned to haunt those who had put him in chains. Jab Jab is an honoring of this enslaved man. The oil, the horns, the movement, the broken chains, all of it is an invocation of his spirit and a call to freedom.
It's not so much about uncritical loyalty to a singular nation. It's about being a child of diaspora, as I think of myself, allows me to a kind of freedom to improvise, so that what it means to be Black doesn't get permanently locked into 4 squares of a box.